I was talking to a friend who works at Target, who wouldn't share certain store policies with me because she could lose her job. So, Reddit, what are some corporate secrets you can now disclose about Company X, now that you no longer work there? Former fast food manager here. I don't know if this is a company-wide thing, but our regional MIC manager strongly discouraged us from firing anyone who had worked there more than 6 months, since they'd be eligible for unemployment. Instead, we were encouraged to make their lives into a living heck until they, hopefully, gave up and quit. It's practically policy at McDonald's. Source: My McDonald's Manager Handbook. I worked at a Hilton hotel where I had to stand for 8 hours straight and was given breaks only if the front desk wasn't busy. There always had to be one person at the front desk at all times. Florida law doesn't require breaks, but most companies do. Hilton does not. If you book a hotel room on one of those travel websites, Expedia, Travelocity, etc., you are guaranteed to get the worst rooms available. Sure, if the hotel is completely empty, you'll get a fine room. But if the hotel is half full, you'll be getting the crappy rooms because you paid the lowest price. None of those websites can guarantee room type or accommodations, and I've peed people off many times because we didn't have the type of room they thought they booked. Also, shady stuff happens in hotels. Employees have quickies in vacant rooms. Employees sleep in vacant rooms without telling housekeeping so they don't get in trouble, and it never gets cleaned. Pro tip: be extra sweet and nice to the front desk people. They don't get paid enough to hear people bitching at them for other employees' mistakes. Also, it'll get you special treatment if you're having a problem. I know this isn't that juicy, but I used to work at an overnight camp. I had also gone there as a camper, and every morning we had a drawing where we put all the campers' names into a hat and picked one out at random. And the kid that got picked got to spin the wheel of wonder and do silly stuff to the counselors like pour flour on them, or throw water balloons, etc. Well, as it turns out, when I was old enough to be a counselor, they let me in on the secret. All the papers inside the hat are blank. They pick a kid that seems to be having a hard time adjusting to camp life, or a kid who isn't very social, and then pretend to pull their name out of the hat. In conclusion, my childhood was a lie. I used to sit there every morning hoping that they would pull my name, but I never won. At least the kids that really needed it end up getting that extra attention though. I used to work at Starbucks. We were always hyper vigilant for people who ordered a tall mocha and continually checked their phone. Starbucks secret shoppers always order a tall mocha and evaluate us based on time, quality of the drink, and whether or not we were pleasant and friendly. These secret shoppers would get us employee rewards if we did a good job. If you want a dang stinking good cup of chocolate flavored coffee with hilariously over the top customer service, you know what to do. I used to secret shop Starbucks. I always used to get a tall white chocolate mocha twist. Payway's chicken lettuce wraps. The chicken is the fatty bits we cut off during morning prep work. Whoever carves the chicken all day just gets a little sloppy so that the pieces he cuts off are 80% fat and 20% meat. Then it all gets minced in a meat grinder. It's one of their top sellers and it costs the company next to nothing, since the alternative is throwing away the fatty pieces. Former meat cutter here. We did that with just about everything. We called it the rock pile. We'd package it up and sell it for super cheap. It's great for making soup out of. I used to work at a Disney store. If you ever hear them mention a customer as a customer and not a guest, it means they are suspected of shoplifting or something else bad. I worked at American Apparel for 2 years. During the time that I worked there, the company implemented a company-wide recruitment policy where any person applying for a position must be photographed. One headshot, one body shot. The actual resumes were thrown in the garbage. These photos were then sent to a company email address where someone would either give a thumbs up or down to the photographs. Staff were encouraged to recruit in store and on the street and were given a $100 bonus for every person they got approved. Before this was implemented, all existing staff were photographed again, one headshot and one body shot. Anyone deemed to be physically unworthy was let go from the company. Of course, this wasn't legal. However, right before they started this process, every employee had to sign a waiver form. That was pretty much a lot of legal gibberish. On the spot, I wanted to have a lawyer take a look at the form, however I was told I had to sign it on the spot or I would be let go. There was also a company intranet website which all employees were to check on a regular basis. This was Dov's main line of communication to all staff. The site would have pictures of girls from the stores where he would rip them apart for having too thin eyebrows, for having ugly makeup or bad tattoos and piercings. They were basically publicly shamed for not looking the way he wanted to. He would also post memos saying things like hire more Asians. Needless to say, I no longer work for the company and will never shop there again. I've actually wanted to get this out there cause it has really bothered me and it's been a few years. I worked at Dollar Tree. Terrible decision BTW. The store had a charity drive for toys during Christmas. We would ask people at the end of their checkout if they wanted to donate a toy for active military families' kids. The incentive for the cashier was to sell the most and you would win like $100 or something. I got second place so I don't remember. Anyway, we sold what had to be thousands. So we thought, it was easy since what's one extra dollar, right? Well, whenever the customers bought a toy it went into a big bin at the front. However, after every day, this bin was unloaded and was recycled to be sold yet again, over and over. In other words, there were only so many toys that they just sold over and over. I guess they figured that we sold so many that every local kid would buried in toys, but I will never forget it. It makes me sad and reluctant to donate unless I know it'll actually go somewhere. This wasn't the only thing that was sketchy either. I used to work at Petco. They had this spa upgrade added to their grooming package. Included special scented shampoo, conditioner, and teeth brushing. By corporate, each store had to sell a certain number of spa packages to meet the quota or they'd be written up. The manager at my store added it onto every dog, even if THD customer didn't ask for it. Suddenly a dog whose haircut should cost $50 now cost $70. We had many complaints and lost a lot of customers. I used to work for Toys R Us and majority of the rare toys that people try to collect usually don't even hit the shelves because the workers already put them aside for themselves. My brother stocked shelves at Walmart for a couple months, and the night guy who worked the Hot Wheels section would call people up whenever he was stocking and they would sort through for all the rare ones before they even hit the shelves. Used to work at Round Table Pizza. Don't order anything that requires an ingredient that seems completely random, like the shrimp. That sits out in the open until it runs out and we have to change it, which is usually after 2-3 days. I worked at a Pepsi factory at the beginning of summer. Concentrated MTN. Dew will burn through your freaking clothes. The oven roasted chicken at Subway is boiled in the microwave. I worked at a pet store once. It was probably the worst job I had. Animals were generally well taken care of in our store but almost never touched or played with, unless the managers were gone. This pretty much makes any animal we sold pretty hostile to its new owner or unmanageable. It also sucked because when stupid kids would come in and want to hold animals, we all would groan on the inside, knowing we were probably gonna get bit. The kid was definitely gonna get bitten too. Probably will also drop it in surprise and make us run around trying to catch it again. If the management had let us handle them a bit more, we wouldn't have had kids freaking out over being bitten by a gerbil or a parakeet or people bringing the animal back when it wasn't instantly warm and receptive. AMR, America's largest private ambulance company. Contracts with counties will specify response times that they need to meet to remain in compliance. Typical response windows are about 10 minutes in heavily populated areas and 14 minutes or more in more rural areas. This compliance usually needs to be maintained to 90% or higher for all 911 calls generated. Several times this year we've been too good and been running compliance up at 98-99% for the month. AMR's response is to cut staffing hours to save labor diesel costs. They are willing to be late at the end of a month because they know they'll still hit their monthly compliance requirement. I personally think that's despicable. Even though most 911 calls are BS and not a medical emergency, somebody that needs a defibrillator right now could have a reduced chance at survival in the name of pleasing corporate and ultimately the shareholders. I worked for an ambulance company in La that was basically made up of former AMR employees who were off at their bulls. Once we had our schedule, we were set. Plenty of overtime. They treated us really well. AMR is too huge to give a crap about people. It's like the Walmart of M's. Was at Kohl's for 5 years, supervisor for 3. Not sure if these are all true of all Kohls, but definitely were at mine. We were encouraged to sign everyone up for a credit card, despite age, language barriers, etc. I absolutely hated signing people up for those cards, especially only because they wanted to see if they could get a discount. I would give them the discount regardless if they were approved or not. If I didn't sign enough people up, I would get warnings. The APR on them was 27%. The jewelry cases were all opened with one key and pretty flimsy even then. With a hard jerk, you could easily open them. Also, a lot of the diamonds that were under 1/4 carat were fake. If you were returning something without a receipt and were getting a corporate refund, that meant that you were, 95% of the time, returning stolen merchandise. We would tell them they'd get a check in the mail. The other 5% were if it was extremely old merchandise, like 3+ years old. A few people got the hint. Those that didn't were in for a sore surprise when they would never get a check. You could easily let a friend know your associate number. Go to Kohl's, say you work at a different store, give the number, and get the associate discount, 15%. If it was returned and wasn't noticeably damaged, it went right back out on the floor, no matter how long the person had it. Inventory was always off, probably by about ±5 units per item. I'm sure there's tons more I can think of, but it's been a while. Ex-Kohl's slave here, you pretty much got it all. People will do anything to get the stupid Kohl's cash. I saw a customer get $400 worth of stuff, divided it between 3 credit cards and talked about how she got free money referring to her Kohl's cash. Jimmy John's has a secret ingredient in their tuna. It's Kikkoman soy sauce. Nothing shady, just thought you'd ought to know. It's common for restaurants to fill Heinz ketchup bottles up with off-brand ketchup once the bottles are empty. Off-brand ketchup haters, beware. We used to do this with Coors Light, Bud Light and Miller Lite. If we were out of one we'd just switch it. Only one dude ever called us on it and he was wearing a NASCAR hat and maintained a beautifully coiffed attack mullet. Former Office Depot technician reporting in. You bring your computer in for a $100 virus cleanup. We hook it up to the network and let some guy overseas fix it. Most of the tech employees know about as much about computers as the average 45-year-old shopper. I used to work at Home Depot. They had at the time, can't confirm if this is still true, as this was 2004, a policy that if a model of power tool was out of stock, the next level up in quality of that tool and that brand would be sold to the customer for the price of the out of stock tool. At Whole Foods, all that fresh baked in-house bread actually comes par-baked and frozen. You can buy the frozen loaves if you ask a team member behind the counter. A lot of the items out on the floor display in the bakery are also frozen and put out in the evenings to thaw before the next day. Six Flags theme parks have a problem with gangs. Management knows about this and will alter certain operations to deter crime on designated gang days. Elaborate. I worked for 2 years for Lego and have nothing but nice things to say about them. For the most part, everyone I encountered there was awesome. I used to work at the IMCA as a lifeguard, and we had a security camera at the indoor pool. Multiple co-workers were fired because they were caught texting on the job on that camera. I became good friends with the boss, and he ended up telling me about how our security camera was useless because the lens was constantly fogged up so the footage showed nothing but blurry figures. He had instead fired my co-workers based off rumors of texting or if he didn't like them. My buddy is a IMCA lifeguard, says that you clean more poop up than you would expect. I'm not doubting him. I worked as a bouncer in a nightclub called Piers in Indiana. It was a huge nightclub broken up into 5 sections: sports bar, karaoke bar, pop music, hip hop music, and the main room, which is where concerts rock music played. Well, they like to keep the blacks corralled into the hip hop bar or sports bar and out of the pop music bar, so that the white people didn't get scared. If we as bouncers noticed there were a lot of black people in the pop music area, we would give the DJ a thumbs up, and he would turn the music to techno until the black people left. Don't wanna scare them white folks. I'm white. Ruth's Chris Steakhouse here, home of expensive crap. All our soups are brought in a frozen bag. We would just throw the bag into the steamer in a perforated pan until it thawed, then keep it warm until someone wanted a bowl. We would just dump frozen chunks of pre-cut lobster into the bowl on the line. The heat of the soup would thaw them out. Don't remember how much it was, more than it was worth. I worked at a Lowe's home improvement for a few months after college. Everything in the seasonal department has a huge profit margin, and as soon as it's slightly out of season the price will drop and haggling becomes available. More time elapsed since next season's stuff got in equals more haggling off the sticker price. The outdoor furniture sold during the summer is crazy overpriced. Wait until they start to roll out the fall selection. Your choices will be more limited, but my managers used to give away $200 tables for $50 or less because they just wanted the floor space back for new stuff. This is even more true for decorations, like Halloween inflatables, Christmas lights and fake trees. Same thing goes for the seasonal power equipment. Deals can be acquired on leftover snowblowers, depending on who you're talking to. Also, Lowe's almost always puts power equipment on sale right when they get it, usually 15-25%. For example, snowblower sale in October. Beware, this may not work as well on expensive, low stock items such as a log splitter. Pro tip, when buying something big, like a mower or an appliance, ask the salesman if the manager can get you a better deal. When this happened to me, my manager would check the margin on that item and give them 10-15% off right on the spot. This happened almost every time someone asked. Till haggling is still a thing for some corporations. Yahtzee. For all you ladies, Estee Lauder owns MAC, and ever since they purchased MAC, they have been using MAC formulas across the board for their cosmetics. This would be awesome if they hadn't immediately altered and watered down the MAC formulas upon purchasing the company. Also, Sally Girl, the Sally Beauty brand of makeup. Yes, it looks super cheap and comes in small quantities, but it is all formulas of much more expensive brands, especially the nail polish. MAC equals Studio Gear of Ulta, and they are made in the same production facility. Some days they put it in MAC bottles, other days it is packaged as Studio Gear. Want to know the secret of finding a high quality makeup brand? See if they offer Makeup Artist Pro discounts for free with credentials. MAC charges makeup artists for a discount. I worked at a foreclosure law firm that was basically a mill. We represented banks in the foreclosure process and took people's homes. I gained employment at the firm through a temp agency, and if you made it past 90 days, you'd become a permanent employee. My first day, I noticed that the entire firm was mostly women in their early 20s, and no one was saying a word to each other. I soon realized that this was due to a high turnover rate. Everyone was new and rarely made it past the 90-day mark. I made it a year and a half and could go on forever about the banking industry and why we're in the mess we're in. Because the foreclosure process in most states is judicial, it goes through the courts and sometimes takes years to get to the foreclosure sale. We would have to create affidavits for each case that had a breakdown of what the defendant owed to the bank. We then email thousands of affidavits to several banks where people would sign, date, notarize and FedEx back to us. This sometimes took weeks for the banks to send the affidavits back and we'd have to cancel a ton of court dates, which resulted in us having to re-request more affidavits, thus delaying the process even further. Because these documents have to be filed prior to the court date, we'd have to cancel the hearing if we didn't receive and file the affidavit 25 days in advance. The management would tell us to switch out signature pages from old affidavits so we wouldn't have to wait forever to get new ones from the banks. I hated that place so much and I saw so many people get fricked over. Towards the end, I started to shred paperwork from the bank that contained ridiculous, exorbitant fees charged to people that were already hard up in life. Did you know that if your home is in foreclosure you are charged an inspection fee of about $10 a day where someone from the bank just drives past your house to make sure it's not vacant? It's bulls. So I started making those bulls charges disappear by way of paper shredder. I would delay some foreclosures because there's no reason why a bank needs to take the house of an 80-year-old woman dying of cancer that only owes $10K on her home but can't pay because of her fixed income and oh yeah, the cancer. I feel like a bad human being for working there. Frick that place and all the places like it. I work at Red Lobster. 1. The biscuits are 130 calories each. 2. None of the food is homemade, it's all pre-packaged and frozen. 3. Every type of pasta is just microwaved. Actually, a lot of the food is microwaved. 4. You can buy the chocolate lava cookie or the apple crosteder at Kroger for $1. Former casino employee here. Avoid slot machines near the exits and cashiers. They are designed to pay out poorly. Pro tip: avoid casinos. Those security cameras? Nope, not real. This is really pretty common. Except Target. That crap is very real and the best money can buy. Rule 21 policy will not let them stop shoplifters. Even if the alarms go off at the front, have to let them go. You can't even accuse them if you witness the act. This includes management. They really only care about stopping employee theft. Yeah, I had a friend that worked at Abercrombie, and he said that if they saw someone stealing something, that they were supposed to suggest something else to go with it. This belt would look awesome with that pair of pants, bro. You have been visited by the Doggo Beer Master. Comment delicious so you always have beer in your life. Thanks for watching. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.